watched.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
and then the last straw for me, I went into with my agent to talk to a major publishing house for my novel, and they wanted me to change the main character to a transgender. And I said, that's not possible. They're like, you just do it. And I'm like, no, my character I have to understand my character
Right.
Yeah.
because that's how I write. I create characters as real as I possibly can, dump them in a situation and see where they go. And I can't understand that mentality or that issue mentally that would allow me to understand that position to tell it truthfully. All I would do is insult people. And basically, I left that meeting and fired my agent and decided I'm going to do it on my own. It's just going to take me a lot longer.
There you go.
Yeah. I got told my book didn't fit modern audiences.
Right.
They didn't tell me specifically what to change, but they just said wouldn't fit modern audiences.
They had me excited because they were excited.
David's a resident author, so I feel like you and he are going to get along with author stuff.
Yeah.
Well, my ideas about where my stories come from are a little crazy, but
yeah.
I have a lot of them. I have like 12 stories in the hopper right now.
The only one I've got to listen to was the Christmas one, and it was really good.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, I'm really soft-hearted, so you know, I mean, in some of the stuff I'm reading, you can hear me crying because I tend to relate. I'm kind of that method actor kind of writer because I create the character so real. I have an emotional attachment to the things they go through, and I relate it back to myself.
That's cool.
But I'm no voice actor, so it's a little. I stutter a bit. I pause quite a bit, but I'm getting better. But if you go back and listen to 3 years ago when I started, those stories, and some of those won awards when I was younger, and then move them over to, and then you listen to like the last few stories I've done, you'll see a definite increase in ability and talent. But that's why I do writing tips, is because anybody can do it. It's just a matter of sitting down and doing it over and over and over again. We've all our lives, we've been taught how to use our English language. It's in there. You just have to be reminded. And we communicate. Our whole society is based off storytelling. When you get home from work, you tell a story about your day. When you go anywhere, you tell stories. When you relay information on how to do something, it's a story. That's the whole basis of our society, and the mainstream gatekeepers of not just movies and novels and cartoons, they've forgotten what stories are about.
Yeah, I mean that's a very important portion of sharing our culture is storytelling, and without storytelling, without authentic tales, what are we? Like, how do we share to future generations?
Right, and I would argue it's not just religious minded things that bring a society into a moralistic society. Our morals don't just come from the Bible or the Torah or the Quran. They come from our pop culture. You know, I mean, Superman fought for truth, justice, and the American way. And though those tropes come from the Bible, because those are, you know, things like that, and Beowulf and our hero tales, Jesus Christ was a hero. David was a hero. Moses was a hero. We have a need for superheroes. We have a need for a moralistic truth. And if we don't get that from religion, we get it from pop culture, and now they're destroying that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we you know, I think all of us here, we've all kind of dabbled in the Bible and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely agree that, you know, he was definitely a hero. That's a good perspective. I've never thought about that. I guess.
I mean, we've always craved superheroes.
Yeah.
The Bible and Beowulf, the Bible didn't begin when it was written down. The reason that the story of Adam and Eve and the story of Noah are just a couple of paragraphs is because they were oral traditions for thousands of years, and all the detail was stripped away. And what we have left is the moralistic tale that tells us if you do this, this can happen. Right?
Yeah.
Beowulf might not be as old, which is why we have more details with Beowulf. But oral traditions lose a part of themselves as they go along. And because some things might not make sense because they don't exist anymore. So, I mean, how many people can relate to the story of Hercules or any of the Greek heroes? I mean, we've always,
I can.
as human beings,
Guilty.
as human beings who dream and strive to do better and make ourselves better and give a better life to those who come behind us, we need things to aspire to. And without those heroes, what do we aspire to?
Exactly.
To be greedy, authoritarian, useless human beings?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Also, it gives us something to aspire to and say, hey, look, if there is actually an award to work hard. These people worked hard. Hercules worked hard. And even though he fell, he got up again, you know?
yes, and that's the whole reason for, I mean, Joseph Campbell just discovered the hero's journey.
Mhm.
The hero's journey has been
analyzed.
used since the beginning of time.
Yeah, he just analyzed and wrote a version, because not every hero's... His version of the hero story is probably one of the more common, but not exactly the only blueprint that exists.
Right, and it's not even the most complex.
No.
But you have things like the Wheel of Time. You have things like Tolkien. You have things like George R. R. Martin, which will probably be the last great fantasy for a long time because they've ruined the genre.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they're ruining the superhero genre. Just like they ruined the buddy cop genre and they ruined the horror genre.
And they ruined science fantasy. Look at what Star Wars become.
Yes, science fiction has been ruined. I mean, I shudder to think what they're going to do with the new Battlestar. I don't trust any of them anymore.
I didn't like the last Battlestar, but that's just me.
I liked it, but there were a lot of things I had to forgive about it before I could.
All right, I can sort of forgive they changed Starbuck from a name to a call sign. I could get that Benedict actually supported the recast because Katie was such a staple already in science fiction.
And she kind of did a really good job with with the Starbucks
The
attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she played a hero well.
Yes.
I liked her on that show. I just didn't appreciate. I mean, don't forget they were the first ones to go after fans when they complained that they race swapped and sex swapped a bunch of people. I mean, they got rid of two major black characters and replaced them with a white man and an Asian female.
Yes.
Boomer and Colonel Ty.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I think that was testing the waters. Ultimately, that was Hollywood testing the waters to say, right, you're going to complain about race swapping, but you didn't complain then, but we did. But
well, I can break down race swapping and why it's wrong in just a second. So when I create a character, I have to understand how not only I will view that character, but how my readers will view that character, right? So I have to take in cultural bias when I think about creating a character and what race they're going to be, because people are people, they're human beings. They make generality assumptions about a person based on their race. And that doesn't matter. And it's not really based on race. It's about a culture that's assumed because of race, right?
mm-hmm.
So culture our culture, the way we grow up, and the things that we're given as we grow up, that's our culture, and that really has a direct effect on the way we make our decisions, right? It's no different with our characters. And so when you race swap or gender swap a character, that character's not going to react the same way as they did originally. You can force them to, but some of it's not going to make sense. Okay? And to me, it's when I write a story, I look at it as I'm looking into another dimension. And that story is a reality for somebody. And what I'm relaying is what I see as clearly as I possibly can. Now, maybe I don't see it as clear as I should, but I'm relaying another world onto the page, and it's almost an insult to change the character as I saw it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does.
absolutely.
Because from a creator's perspective.
Yeah. Could you imagine, and I suppose it's very easy to imagine, that Hollywood suddenly has an epiphany? I think that will only come, however, when they're broke.
Yes. And the thing is that this all started with the writer's strike in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, two things. The writers did have, I mean, they created the dialogue, and yet they don't get the credit.
Right.
That's fair. There were
They're
plenty
the
of
least
movies
paid people in Hollywood.
the problem is Hollywood is run by those who want to be worshipped. They don't like heroes. They want the director. They want the producer. They want the A-lister star to be worshipped. They want the shallow to be worshipped. They don't want the meat and bones of the movie industry to get the credit, even though they're the right. Without the writer, there is no movie.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things that happened is suddenly directors and producers are like, who needs writers? I'm doing this fine on our own.
Yeah.
And so now they have more direct control over creativity than they had before that strike. The producers and directors and the money people.
Yeah, because they're all trying to keep. Yeah, it's not a trickle down economy. It's a trickle up.
It's top down.
Yeah, the top takes the biggest cut. The top takes the biggest credit. They put their name in lights. They can trample your rights by getting you to sign contracts you don't understand, and then basically rip you off.
And then lie to you about how much money it made.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the government will protect them because they're the biggest.
Too big to fail.
Yeah, too big to fail, and they're the $1 million a year in
ESG.
Well, donations. Let's call them donations. But
well, in Disney's case, they get money from the government for ESG when they cast all these.
ESG points.
Yes.
Yeah. And even though ESG will make less money, it higher risk.
It's subsidized.
And it's subsidized, even though it doesn't. Even though they've got 15 years of failure.
Yeah.
From Cylindra onwards, not one project has. The Silicon Valley Bank, not one project they funded has ever repaid a loan under ESG. Not one loan under ESG.
Yeah, and so I get accused all the time that I'm just a dime store novelist trying to find a different way to make a little money. But the thing is I don't care about making money. I would like my channel to be monetized so it will pay for itself, because right now, with all the tools I use, it costs me a lot of money to run. Which is why I'll go through a month where I might not have any content because I've got to pay for all these tools. It's time. You know, writing a story takes a lot of time. So, it would be nice to be able to put money back into it so it doesn't cost me money to run. But all I care about is there a couple of people out there that like my story? That's great. Did I help somebody learn how to write or inspire them to write? That's great. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
This last story, The Wizard, is the first time my son collaborated with me on anything, and he gave me the greatest parts of it. So that to me was a bigger deal than being famous or being monetized or anything like that.
Yeah,
I gave up on writing for a living a long time ago.
Yeah, a few people told me that these big name writers, they don't make money off their books. They make money because the publishers get money off the government.
Yeah.
And they sell lots of books, but most of the writers don't get shit because
You got to
all the
think.
big money goes
Stephen
to a
King makes
few.
money because he has his own publishing company.
Yeah.
James Patterson basically has a controlling interest in a publishing company.
Yeah, but he
Just
was
like
given.
Michael Jordan owns most of Pepsi.
Yeah.
So I mean, these people. Michael Jordan did so many ads for Pepsi, they ended up paying in stock, and he owns a lot of Pepsi.
Well, that's when Pepsi stock was worthless, and and he bought it up really cheap.
And then he gave it to him as part of his
800 million. What was it? Something like 800 million shares of Pepsi was sold for less than $1 million or something. It was something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was back when they had the Crystal Pepsi debacle just after that.
Yeah, they dropped to pennies to the dollar or something.
Yeah.
And
then they hired Michael Jordan to bring him back out of it, and he did.
He did, yeah. But I remember they got paid the what was it? The Russians and it owed them a phenomenal amount of money, and they paid them in scrap metal, and they sold those ships to Indonesia. And it was the first time Pepsi had made a profit in 15 years or something.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
but it shows you how long. Sorry, it just shows you how long some corporations have been subsidized.
You know, and you know, with the praise that's coming out for John Wick, there is hope. There are still good storytellers out there. It's just that they don't get to see the light of day very often.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people criticize Keanu Reeves for some of his early choices, but you look back at those movies, and they were poignant stories. Those were critical stories to the birth of alternative theater and alternative movies.
One of my favorite Keanu Reeves movies was what, A Walk in the Clouds, something like that.
Yeah.
My favorite Keanu Reeves movie is Speed. I love that.
And I really like Point Break. The original Point Break was amazing. It was just a good action 80s buddy cop movie. But it gave you a view into how criminals might be likable, and they're not always in it to hurt people. They're just maybe greedy, or they're at the wit's end.
Yeah. Well, it's a combination in it. They were greedy and didn't, look at they just say, hey, look at the banks,
Well, we tell these stories because we're philosophers, right?
Yeah.
Philosophers used to be able to stand out in public and just talk, have classes. You didn't need a degree or a certificate to teach people things that you thought up, that you think you understand, or have debates about it like we do now. But you read a novel, a good novel that's just there to entertain you, and you get the philosophy, you get the morals, you get the understanding. You see somebody who is using a story to understand the world around them, whether it's a fantasy story or a contemporary fiction story or a thriller or a suspense. In the process of taking wonder what would happen if this, and putting characters in it and getting to the end, you may not even know what story you're telling, what basic through line or morality is there, but there's one there, and people will see it at the end. You don't have to inject the message. Who you are and your ideas come through in your writing. But that's why they're failing, is because when you force a message in there that's not organic, it doesn't work.
Or you've seen that same message over and over again, and you wait and you go, wait a minute, there's no diversity here. This is not, and we're seeing this with superhero movies where they started off organically heroic, overcoming challenges, Now, what they did is that when they reached their peak, I think with the first Avengers movie, from then on they all became the same formula. It's like Star Wars; they became all the same formula. This is why people criticize the hero's journey, saying it's not the only one. We don't have to follow these 11 steps exactly. Heroes don't always have to fail at this point, this point, this point in order.
Right.
And they don't always have to be the orphan boy. You know, look at the similarities between every elevated, I would say hyped, but let's just say elevated story like Harry Potter is just a rewriting of Star Wars. If you strip away the window dressing, the orphan boy who becomes the hero follows the same 11 steps, you know, and eventually people got tired of Harry Potter. People got tired. But you look at classic stories like you said before with Hercules, they always have an audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's just, we may not be coming up with new stories. We may be telling the same ones over and over again. It is the way and the artistry and how we do it that matters, because the different perspectives we can give on the same moralistic or archetypical story, the more that people can come to understand the idea behind it. Because, I mean, look, these kids today have been lied to, and we weren't even aware it was happening. But they've been lied to.
A lot of the people telling the lies were lied to themselves.
Yes. And that's why this is going to be difficult to get out of, and not all of the blame should be on one group of people like the educators and stuff, because now we have people of an age where these kind of ideologies are the only things they've ever been known.
Which is the point of teaching them for so long and pushing them for so long in secret, is that eventually there are many who only know that one ideology.
And when it's flashed in front of you 24/7, it's like you're in Clockwork Orange and they've got your eyelids taped open.
And people ask how it happened. Well, it happened because in the 90s you got comfortable and didn't care about the truth.
Yeah. You know, the way that you do tell a story is very important, because if you think about it, you know, I could tell David a story and you, Storyman, could tell David a story and your rendition could have a detail that I left out, or I could be more descriptive.
Right. And the meaning might be the same, but our perspectives will be different.
Exactly.
Because we were raised differently.
Mm-hmm. Points of view. I can focus on one portion of a story that you might not focus on. You might focus on something completely different. And from your perspective, you could see the other side of the picture where I'm seeing the one side of the picture. So you put the two stories together and it makes a full landscape.
Well, I mean, Jordan Peterson said, you understand that the first hyperlinked document was the Bible. If you go and read Genesis, it refers to things that are thousands of pages in another direction in that book. And they're linked, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah. And, well, the idea of hyperlinks actually came from the Bible Concordance that showed the links between the various texts.
Yes.
That was where hyperlinks came from. That was... actually, wasn't the Gutenberg Bible the first hyperlinked document created by Apple?
Yeah. And see, personally, I can't understand how anybody couldn't believe in intelligent design. You think this is just an accident, all this? Really? I don't know how you can logically think that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you could go through life thinking that one day you're just going to shut off and not exist anymore and be nothing. I can't understand how people can think that way.
Then they turn around and say, "Oh, shiny rock! This is a healing stone."
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it just amazes me that the very first thing they go after is our universal truths, our stories, things that we know, like 2 + 2 = 4. You know,
when you control the past, you control the future.
Yes.
It's all about control. If you control who gets published, if you control what stories get told. Once upon a time, a university was, "Hi, Aristotle, we had a debate. I'd like to continue this debate." And they would sit down and debate, and people would gather around, and the debates would go back and forth. And
people would change their minds.
And eventually Aristotle's friends would come, and the government started fearing the university because people were having debates outside of their quorums, and people were coming up with their own ideas. "How dare you," said Xerxes. "That's racist!" But that's what the government did. They panicked when people were having their own quorums. And this is what's happened today in America. When's the last time anybody's heard of a town hall where it wasn't listening to a politician, where a politician was listening to the people? Only a few, but most of them are, you come, you listen, you go home.
Yeah. But that's why we have to support things like John Wick, and Maverick and the Joker, things that are at least not this new idea of everything's got to be. It's like they walk in and said, "Okay, writers, stop," and then push a gay button. You know what I'm saying? I understand. One of my favorite people in the whole world is my uncle, who's been gay all my life. He's my last uncle, in fact, and he's the last sibling of either of my parents. And I hang out with him all the time, and he doesn't even like this.
I was going to say, did he express any views on what he thought about?
He's like, okay, look. He told me, he's like, and I don't know if it's appropriate to say, but this is just what he told me. He said, "There's 2 types of people that are this way. There are those who are in it for the prestige, and basically they would do that with anybody and anything. And then there are people who are just attracted this way. And the people who are normally just attracted this way don't make a big deal about it."
Yep.
Did you the actor who played Jar Jar, did you know he expressed similar views recently? He said, "Don't call me LGBTQ plus, or even don't call me gay. Don't say gay. Just call I am a person. I'm not a homosexual. I'm a person."
Well,
imagine that, judging someone by their character and their personality. It's almost like what Martin Luther King Jr. was trying to do, which is his dream has now been destroyed.
Everything that guy just says bullshit. Thank you.
No, but seriously, like, you have to look at people the way that they, their character. You can't look at people as their, all people that want this ideology as their, this is my life. Like, what are you living for? I mean, you're living to be identified as something and to make sure that everybody knows that you're identified. Just live your life and be happy.
Yeah. And I mean, my personal faith tells me that there's no difference between lying, being homosexual, killing somebody. All sin is the same. There's no levels. There's no distinctions, right? So I shouldn't be judging people by the way they live their life. Yeah. I should be able to look past that and judge them by other characteristics, like be able to say, okay, well, you had this bad thing. I did a bad thing too. I'm going to look past yours if you look past mine, and we'll try and get along, right? That's what that means. Be kind to one another. But that we're human beings. We're not saints. Nobody is. Nobody is perfect. So, I mean, my problem is that the people that are using this are not genuine. They're evil. They're using it for an agenda. They don't care. If they cared, they would try to make it good.
Did you hear about the transgender who, I think it was United Airlines, the first openly transgender air stewardess? killed himself, and said he was in his final letter. He said, "I am taking his life." You know, they basically they're using people with personality disorders and other disorders we have yet to properly understand, merely to destroy the society which they hate because it's not perfect. That much.
Now, I understand some of them come. Yeah. I mean, it started from a good place. We're trying to help people, right? We did away with an asylum system that was bad, but we didn't put anything up in its place. Yeah, and we should have put something up.
But they say, "Oh, people be free. That's the way God made them." You know, there's all sorts of excuses, but really, it boils down to a bunch of boomers got together. No offense, but a bunch of boomers got together around Jack Kennedy and said, "Hey, we can't afford the space program and the housing program and the medical program. Something has to go." So at first they thought, we'll sacrifice the asylums to keep.
And they were bad. A lot of them were horrifying.
Yeah,
and they needed to be changed. It
wasn't done in the name of good. It was done in the name of money to keep the war going in Vietnam. It wasn't done in the name of good.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, the problem we have is that people are finding paranoid schizophrenics, handing them a gun, and telling them, "Yes, everybody is out to get you." I mean, it's the equivalent.
Yeah. Because every day, you know, there's a story every day where somebody has saved a life with a gun, and you can go to gun stories. Yet, what is it? Mass shootings on the rise just happen to coincide with the rise in schizophrenia. And the rise in schizophrenia has been linked to certain vaccines, which they still refuse to investigate.
Or Adderall, or all these drugs that we're giving kids because of ADD and ADHD. I mean, I would have been diagnosed with ADD when I was a child, but it was the 80s before all that. So I just got my butt busted and I started doing right.
Yeah, behavioral modification therapy, i.e. discipline.
Yeah. But, you know, I tell people all the time, I say, look, I'm not a published writer because my life got in the way, right? I am a published writer. I have short stories that are published, and I'm published on YouTube, I guess, technically. But
you're self-published.
I never wrote a novel, gotten a novel published. I haven't yet. And the reason for that is because life got in the way. But the reason I can tell stories is because I lived my life. I didn't sit in my room or my dorm room or my basement. I got out. I made mistakes. I screwed up. I was scared a lot. I got into trouble. I did things I should probably be in jail for a couple of times. I mean, I lived my life. I traveled the world. I was in the military. I grew up hunting and fishing and playing football, but also reading Socrates and Aristotle and Nietzsche and Jung. So I'm kind of a dichotomy. I grew up at a time.
Not Plato, not that Plato guy.
I grew up in a time where technology didn't really exist. I mean, my first job when I was 18 years old, I had to have a beeper because that was the highest level of technology. But I am an IT admin at almost 50 years old. So sometimes my brain gets all screwed up because most of my life was spent in a world that didn't have technology. And my son has never not had technology. So he spends the better part of his life inside, staring at a computer screen.
I was towards the end of high school when computers first came in. I had a VIC-20.
That was my first computer in 1981. My dad bought me a VIC-20 he could not afford because William Shatner was hawking them.
Yeah,
that was my first computer.
Yeah, and he got paid $1 million for that. Could you imagine?
It would have been $100 million nowadays.
That was huge back then. That was huge.
Yeah, they were $600, and I thought my mom was going to have a heart attack because we weren't going to be able to pay bills that month
Yeah,
because we
look at
spent the money on the computer.
$600. Look back now and say, yeah, I'd pay $600. You pay more than that for a phone now.
Yeah. But that was like 2 months rent back then.
Yeah.
I remember gas was like 78 cents a gallon back then.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, and I thought, wow, Shatner getting paid $1 million to hock a computer. But
Yeah, I mean, I was like 7, but still.
I thought, wow, this must be an amazing computer. Well, it was for about a year, but it was amazing at the time it came out, but they soon superseded it several times over.
Well,
I had that VIC-20 for over 11 years before I had a PC. I didn't have anything else for a long time.
But the point is that's how stories come about, is changes and strife and struggle.
Experience.
Yeah, I mean, when God cast Adam out of Eden, out of the garden, he told him, now you will have to struggle with the earth to survive. You will have to sacrifice to make a life for yourself.
No more comfort, son. No more comfort.
Yeah, exactly. And that metaphor is a universal truth. And it's one they were trying to kill.
A lot of people look at that and say, how could God be so cruel? And I look at it and says, you realize he could have struck him down dead. You could have taken everything from him. No, he gave him everything. He actually literally gave him the world. He said, look, I'm kicking you out of the basement, son, and you have to now deal with the world. I'm giving you your freedom. I give you the world, boy. And they don't realize that was probably the best thing that God ever did for Adam, was set him free.
And that's the thing, is the understanding that the apple represents the awakening of consciousness and our ability to choose, right? That's why we have to be tolerant, because the greatest gift we were given came through sin, and it was to choose.
And the birth of the first cliche, the don't touch that cliche, was born.
Yes.
The red button. Don't touch the red button.
And these are the kind of things that you explore when you're telling a story, even if it's a story about space wizards, right? It's about the connection and the emotion involved. So when I write, if I'm writing a fight scene, I want something fast and booming and going. And when I'm writing something tragic, I want to hear Mozart or Tchaikovsky in the background. Emotion is tied to that. And you can get the words on the page and move people because you're inspired by what's around you.
Well, after this, I'm headed. Well, in a couple of hours, I'm headed to the city to see John Wick. And even if you spoilt it for me right now, I would still go see it, simply because it is Keanu Reeves. It's not just the amazing story; it's to see the amazing action from Keanu Reeves, and I think that's the appeal of the movies. I mean, that's why Seth likes video games, right? The amazing action, right?
Yep. Yeah. Me and actually Anime and I, we went and saw it last night.
Yeah.
I think Tommy started it today.
Yeah.
I went Wednesday night.
Tommy's sailing the seas, but don't tell nobody. I mean,
hey Tommy,
not Tommy,
some other guy,
Pommy.
We're gonna go see that, and then the very next week we're gonna go see Dungeons and Dragons. And I've been hearing, they kind of emasculate the main character. I'm like, he's a bard. You're supposed to. I've been playing Dungeons and Dragons my whole life. We always made fun of the bard being a sissy.
Now, I've never played it, but I did see the preview last night at John Wick, and I thought, man, this actually looks interesting.
Yeah.
Like, it looks.
So a bard is a singer dancer, and you've got all these rough and tumble barbarians and fighters, and we always made fun of the bard.
I played Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
I've never actually played it.
Really?
Well, if you're a creative person One of the best tools, I did this on just a tip. I may do it again on another one. But one of the best tools you can use to create a character is a character sheet from Dungeons and Dragons, because it has every question, not just every question, but it also tells you how their strength works, tells you how their charisma works, it tells you how their dexterity works, and what those things are. So if you use a Dungeons and Dragons character sheet and use the rules, the basic rules that were originally created for the game, then you can understand how your character works and what he would do in certain situations, because you have a background for him. You know his weaknesses and and all that stuff. It is one of the greatest character tools ever created.
And the bard is always portrayed as the lover, not the fighter.
Yeah. And Chris Pine is definitely a good talker and he's a lover, not a fighter.
He's definitely the charismatic pretty boy that a bard should be.
And I think, what was it, Michelle Rodriguez? I think she plays Letty in Fast and Furious. She was in it.
Yep.
She's like an angry lesbian the whole time.
Yeah, she's a barbarian girl, I think.
That was funny. It seemed like my theater was full of nothing but horror movies. There was a trailer for the new Fast and Furious. Something called The Blackening.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It's like
that sounds interesting.
It reminds me of a blaxploitation film, where it's all stereotypes and jokes. It was interesting.
Kind of like when they made fun of the Scream movies and scary movies.
Yes, scary movie.
But The Blackening actually sounds like a good horror flick title.
It was interesting. I'll say that. I'm trying to look up the actual trailer for it. I'm gonna post it in our private chat because you guys can watch it.
It
was weird.
Do you think it's
I did.
Do what?
Yeah. Did
David?
you see what? Actually, I was just going to say, I heard, I had a phone alert before. The MC, Kevin Feige has admitted that it was the, HR at Disney was the one who fired Victoria.
Oh, the special effects person?
The special effects lady,
You mean the fall guy for Kevin Feige?
Well, I hear she was pretty...
fall person.
I figure she was a pretty terrible... I mean, I hear she was a pretty terrible person.
Yeah, they said it was actually 3 people complained about her mistreatment of artists.
But also...
Yeah, they confirmed that it was nothing to do with politics or Kevin Feige or anything else, that she had 3 complaints against her, which were verified, and so they fired her.
Well, I mean, that's an excuse, right? Because they literally have Leslie Headland there, who scheduled appointments for her boss to, sexually assault women. So
yeah, I was just going to say, do you think it's a coincidence that at the same time Kevin Feige doesn't get promoted to the board, Rian Johnson's movie trilogy gets canned?
Rian Johnson's trilogy was canned before he ever announced it.
No, but I mean official. 17 projects all get canned at the same day. So,
well, they have an excuse now. They're losing money.
Yeah.
And they can blame it on whatever and say, well, it's about, these are still repercussions from the pandemic, and we have to cut money anyway, so this is why, not because we're doing badly.
Yeah,
on making our movies.
Kennedy, but I still think Kathleen Kennedy had to eat a lot of crow before she had to admit to Rian Johnson that it's over.
I don't think these people admit anything to anyone.
No, she had somebody else to make the call to his somebody.
So was it actually confirmed that there is no Rian Johnson trilogy, or is this just more hearsay?
Oh, yeah.
No,
no, it was all in all the trades, just like the
Variety. Kathleen Kennedy's assistant told Variety.
And there was another movie they canned that was supposed to be in pre-production.
Which she's getting sued for, that one, the Outlaws.
The Acolyte one they're getting sued
Acolyte,
for.
sorry, not Outlaws. Acolyte.
And that's not, and from what I understand from the rumor mill, is that that's not even anything been done about yet. They're putting together a kind of a presentation reel. Nothing's even been authorized.
No, Disney's actually confused because they thought it was still on.
Yeah.
This according to smallscreen.co.uk, Rian Johnson's Star Wars trilogy scrapped by Disney.
Oh, okay. Okay, then.
Yeah, the Disney Story Group has final say in what projects go ahead, and they canned a whole bunch of them just before they announced Victoria's firing. So I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's, hey, we give you.
I have to thank the good Lord. I have to thank the good Lord that he's getting exactly what he deserves. No trilogy.
Exactly.
Does he really want a Star Wars trilogy at this point? He's got that.
I don't think he does. Well, he might be a masochist.
He might to fund.
He's a masochist, I'm sure.
No, but I think he might want it to fund his next Knives Out movie. But
which aren't any good. No, they aren't any good. They're so predictable.
I haven't seen the second one, but I kind of like the first one.
The first one is full of tropes.
And I was angry. I refused to watch that movie for the longest time because of what he did to Star Wars.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, let's just watch it. We watched it and I enjoyed it. And I was so mad at myself for actually enjoying it.
I'll never watch it.
So I'll tell you a story. When Wheel of Time came out on Prime, my wife wanted to watch it. And I said, well, I don't trust them because this is literally... For me, it's Wheel of Time because I read it before Lord of the Rings and then Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So the visuals are great until you get... I'm like, this village is supposed to be all of the same race. Because the literal point of it is that he was born of an ancient blood and raised by an old blood. And they've got a diverse community. The point is that the main character didn't even look like any of them. And then these characters are supposed to end up with specific people, and now they're all gay sleeping with each other. And when the story starts, they're supposed to be teenagers, but they start them off as 20-somethings, and one of them's already married. They're not even the same characters at all. Not even close. They just have the names. And I'm raging. And my wife never read the book, so she was kind of enjoying it. And
I heard, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that one of the reasons why the stories are changed so much is so they have to so that they can only pay the minimum royalty to the author. And this is what I heard, but according to the deal that I was offered for my book, it's when you look at it, it's a once-off payment, and there's no residuals unless you reach a certain target. So there's too many difference between what Netflix says and what Netflix does.
Yeah, well, and this is Prime, but the thing is that
Prime, Netflix, they're all the same.
Because I'm angry with Brandon Sanderson for even putting his name on it. But
the
showrunner came out and said he changed all the characters because he did not like them.
Yeah.
That is quoted in Variety.
Yeah, it's like, why are you adapting The Lord of the Rings if you hate it?
Yeah, why are you adapting anything if you don't like it? Why are you hired for this show if you don't like it?
According to Henry Cavill, that's originally they were going to turn The Witcher just into a movie and be done with it, and they were trying to cut the writer out of his own material. They were going to take his name off it and put it by The Witcher bot. They were trying to stiff the writer, you know.
Well, they do that. They steal all the time, and they own the judiciary in California, so nobody can sue them.
Yeah, Disney's trying to get the copyright laws altered to give them 75 years on their IPs, but a lot of the IPs they supposedly own are not really IPs, like Pinocchio, Winnie the Pooh. They're not their IPs. They're just
No, they're all grifted from the Brothers Grimm and various other sources.
yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, the story of Cinderella was actually grifted so many times. It's not funny, but the original story was called Cinders, and I believe the original author only put Sergei on it, although he was Russian, but it was only put Sergei on it, and then somebody in Italy named Sergei published it as his. So the grift ain't new, but the grift should be, hey, we're this moral society that's kind to everybody, and yet in reality it's just Machiavellian bullshit all over again.
I wonder how you can get one of them ancient grifted stories to fit into John Wick.
I could see it adapted into kind of a Shakespearean feel.
Yeah, I could see a Hercules.
Like Revenge.
I could see John Wick being let's see, Judas. In a way, you could have a lot of different stories there with John Wick. He's a very versatile character, but another versatile character, and let's face it, you could write Trump, take any story, an allegation around Trump, and now I just totally forgot the name. You know, the most persecuted man in history. You know, and you could pretty much say, hey, Michael Cohen is Judas.
Well, there's a lot of things that, I mean, when you write a story, you're putting subconsciously things in there that you wouldn't normally put in there if you were to think about them.
Yeah.
And that's part of the self-discovery that goes on during the creative process.
Yeah.
That's why I encourage everybody to write down their stories.
Yeah. I mean, what do you all think about the revelation that the Alvin Bragg left out 600 pages of evidence?
Wow, I didn't know that.
With the whole Trump thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
pages of evidence. That's not a bookkeeping error, right?
No.
I honestly wish they would have tried.
You're accusing somebody of a bookkeeping error as a felony, and yet the so-called there's no actual crime or statute that says I cannot pay you a non-disclosure agreement.
Right.
I can pay any amount of money I want, have him sign a non-disclosure agreement, and it's perfectly legal.
Then everybody, if it was illegal,
came from Michael Cohen.
Yeah, if it was truly,
sorry, go ahead.
If it was truly illegal, everybody who received the severance package would be a felon.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement when I got laid off.
That's a funny
violation. Bragg's not a federal prosecutor.
Yeah.
Huh. That is funny if you think about it. Stormy Daniels got paid a severance package.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It was a nuisance fee because she admitted she never slept with him. She just threatened to write a book about it.
What even gets me is that she said in an interview this morning that she would gladly send him to jail for paying her off. And it's like, hello, do you realize that you're the blackmailer? That's you who goes to jail, not him who goes to jail? The payee, not the payer, not the payee goes to jail. They've got the wrong person on the stand for blackmail.
I bet she wouldn't say that if she had to pay it back.
No, of course not. But Michael Cohen admitted in his original deposition to the DOJ that he paid Stormy Daniels and he tried to extract money from Donald Trump. So there you go. Cohen is admitted blackmailer.
He's in prison for it. He's already in prison for it.
Avenatti is an accomplice, and he stole And he stole from Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, all their witnesses got problems, just like during Russian collusion.
This is the problem when you think automatically that somebody is guilty just because they're in the other party. That they would rather do anything to stop Trump from running because they cannot debate him, they cannot prove him wrong, and didn't. And they say America first is racist. What did Biden say the other day about electric car manufacturing?
Nazi fags.
Yeah. That and that we must put America first in manufacturing. Really, Biden?
Wait, he wants to make America great again?
Yeah, I know, right? He wants to put
I've heard
America
that
first.
before.
He said that he said that on every State of the Union address, and then goes right out and does the opposite.
Yeah. Really?
Yes, that is true.
Absolutely. And he says, oh, we want to be first in the world in ESG. Well, that'll put you last in the world in economics because Saudi Arabia has banned ESG. What's the other one? South Africa has now joined the Russian Economic Union. So,
Yeah, I mean,
try to get lithium without South Africa. Try to get lithium without the big mining conglomerates based in South Africa.
So Texas has lithium. Texas has cobalt. We have uranium. We have helium. We have every natural resource. We have every natural resource we could need to be independent forever.
But you know, but I'm saying in the current market where there's lots of things that aren't. I mean, you could be energy independent, but you aren't. You could be lithium independent, but you aren't. You're getting it from foreign markets. I'm just saying those foreign markets are closing to you.
Well, this is what I'm saying, is that there is a reason why the Texas GOP on their agenda is secession from the Union in Texas.
Yeah. I forget
The problem with that would be that we have more military bases in Texas than any other place in America.
Except, the only place with more military bases is Ukraine.
I think so. Right now.
Yeah.
And Poland.
No, yeah. Although they're just building another one in Poland, aren't they? 10,000 years.
Yep. There's a real danger of our state turning blue and purple and blue.
Purple.
Because of all the people that came from California.
And unfortunately, with what was it? What's his name? The Abbott. He won't stand up for anything.
No, he says he does, and then he goes through the motions, and that was funny that he won't stand up for anything. Did you do that on purpose?
Yes, I did.
I'm almost positive
he's in a wheelchair. He's in a wheelchair.
He's every cent out of it.
I don't like him because he made me pay exorbitant child support. So
he doesn't have a leg to stand on, I think is what.
Yeah, that's what he was trying to say.
Whoops.
There you go. But I mean, he basically came out, and we were trying to get medical marijuana, and he basically came out, and there was a poll that said, like 80% of Texans wanted it, and he said, "I don't care what the people want." And I'm like, what?
Because that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Not caring what your
I don't
constituents
think.
want.
I think if we have a decent person run against him and primary him, he will go away. But what we keep getting is way overly conservative people running against him. If we had somebody like an Ann Richards, who is like a deep red dog Democrat, or blue, what they used to call blue dog Democrat, which is a very conservative Democrat, then it would probably. But they don't exist anymore. I mean, the closest we get is Ro Khanna and who's the gentleman from West Virginia?
Manchin.
And they're still way too liberal from my view, from my perspective. I mean, we had Ann Richards, and she was probably on the equivalent of a Reagan.
We had Governor Blackface over here in Virginia for the longest time, and that finally he left.
Yeah, you're in the wrong Virginia, I think.
Yeah, well, no, I'm in East Virginia.
Yeah. You're in the DC area, right?
I'm 3 hours south of it. 3.5, 4, something like that.
Well, see, I'm from Texas. For us to get anywhere around here, it's 2.5, 3 hours.
Shoo.
But that's why we all drive great big trucks, so we can live in them.
There you go.
I'm in Queensland. My state's bigger than Texas.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Where is
Allegedly.
it? Where is it? Hang on. Right here.
Allegedly.
That's the button.
Yeah. Allegedly, he's in Australia. We don't even know if Australia exists.
I've been there. It does.
Oh, you have?
Beautiful, beautiful place.
Yeah.
I went out to the Outback.
I'm kind of retarded.
Well, and that's what I joined the military. I saw the world.
Cool.
I have perspectives that allow me to tell stories. So and that's what I tell any aspiring writer is, number one, you just got to sit down and write. Nothing is going to help you do anything more than that. You can have all the education in the world. You can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on books to tell you how to write. If you don't just sit down and do it, you're never gonna learn how to write. And then, but you also have to live your life.
Yeah, this is where the gatekeeping comes in. They tell you got to be a journalist, you got to go to college, you got to earn your stripes, you got to edit for the people ahead of you. This is I hate referring to as the boomer line, but these guys are ahead of you. You got to let them succeed. And this is what's happening in Texas with Governor Abbott. Oh, he's ahead of us, so we just got to bide our time until he retires and steps aside for us. No, that's not how writing works. That's not how politics works. That's not how life works.
Right.
If you sit there and think I'm old, therefore I'm entitled, you're no different to the long-haired hippie sitting in college smoking dope, saying, "Well, I breathe. I'm entitled to free healthcare."
Yeah, entitlement.
The entitlement is the problem. Yeah, and one of the biggest entitlements right now is I got a college degree, therefore I'm a professional writer.
I have 2 college degrees, but you know what? I learned more sitting and doing it than I ever learned from the expensive college. I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron. I got my English degree from the University of Oklahoma, but the thing is that if you don't have a perspective when I was in the military, when I was in tech school, I was stationed in Biloxi. And I grew up, I watched Biloxi Blues, and I like to go around and see where the old places were that they referenced in the movie. And we went bar hopping. We went from New Orleans to Panama City, Florida, and back every weekend. So drunk we could not stand up when we got back. We did crazy stuff. We were in electronics, so we were all radar techs. So we had to understand how signals work and how they came in and how transistors could amplify and all that good stuff. So after we graduated basic electronics, we only had one of our group that had a car because he was actually a local that got stationed there. And we built a receiver that would capture X-band radar, multiply it 2, 3, 4 times, and then transmit it back. So if we were going, say, 90 miles an hour, when they hit us with their X-band radar gun, it would tell them that we were going 390 miles an hour, something impossible. So they couldn't even give us a ticket. Of course, we all got sent to jail for 2 weeks for doing it when we got caught, but still, we did stuff like that.
Yeah, I remember when they passed the law here about radar gun detectors and big constitutional fights over that. But eventually, it comes back to they run the courts. The courts need people to. The courts depend on lawlessness, so they're going to side with whatever gives them the most amount of cases, not what's right for society.
Right.
Now, I got another interesting alert, and I think this is actually an old story. Quentin Tarantino readies for his final movie, The Movie Critic. This is potentially his last film. He is actually this story actually starts off with saying how the movie critics his last film, and then he launches into a tirade about how Marvel is destroying cinema, and he's glad to be retiring.
Yeah, I mean,
well, he's saying
know,
basically that Hollywood's full of bad writers, and
yeah,
MCU is the epitome of that. Bad writing, everybody
the problem
copying
is,
everybody's homework.
I think we're being too specific. I don't think Hollywood's full of bad writers. Obviously, there are great writers. I mean, there always were. Through the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, there were great writing. There was great writing. The problem is that the executives and studios have way too much control over the creative projects. What you need is a balance. If you give creatives too much control, they go out there, right? They go way out there, and normal people aren't going to.
Yet you end up with John Carpenter's The Thing. So
right
out there is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, but you do want to rein that in a little bit.
Yeah,
that's where the studios come in, is that they rein that in a little bit. But what we have now is studios going, okay, here's a list of the diversity you have to have. Here's the message you have to tell, and I want it done this way. They're not even really allowed to create something from the heart. They've been given a puzzle, and they're trying to piece it together. And you can't tell a story that way.
I remember the original treatise for Batman. You cannot use the same character twice. This is the Batman animated series. The story treatise went out. They didn't want famous writers. Unfortunately, my story, hundreds of applicants never got their stories told, but they picked 63 stories out of this competition, and they made up the Batman animated series. The professional writers mostly got picked in the end, but they wanted no character to be used twice, although they broke that rule. They wanted stories that hadn't been told before in any of the comics. They really went out of their way they didn't tell you what to write other than, what not to write. And what not to write was anything that had happened before,
Yeah.
Hey, Coffin, you leaving?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us.
Hey, and I'm still intrigued about David's OnlyFans, because I've heard that Australians will do things on OnlyFans that certain other people will not do. So color me intrigued.
Tommy has that link. He'll
I will stay in touch. Nice to meet you, Storyman Jack.
It's nice to meet you.
And I will definitely be here next week.
Sweet. All right, man. Take care, buddy.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Seth, your mic's muted.
What?
Yep.
How are you hearing me then?
It was muted.
When?
Like, I could see your mouth moving, but I couldn't hear you talk. Yeah, like that.
I wasn't making any noise. I haven't muted.
Oh, you want me?
Hey, so what do you guys think about France being on fire?
Definitely, it's my democracy. We didn't get our way in the election, so we're going to burn everything down. And did you hear some of the screams? They weren't in French, so
well,
that's not democracy.
I can't really have an opinion on the French because they've got their own problems that I can't relate to. I mean, there's a universal problem of just the craziness in the world. I mean, it's almost like figuratively the whole world's on fire right now. We're on the brink of nuclear war, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
I mean, we were hiding under tables in the 80s just at the prospect of the Soviets sneezing wrong. And it's worse now, and nobody seems to be able to articulate that. It's like everybody's like trying to ignore it. It's insane. They just sent depleted uranium tanks to Ukraine to fight Russia. That's nuclear war. That could be construed as nuclear war.
It's.
I mean, it's definitely positioning. It's definitely positioning all your strength and the things that you would use in war. It's positioning. You're positioning your chess pieces, and what's it gonna result to?
And in fact, the only treaty we have with Ukraine is Hunter Biden's job at Burisma.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's the only treaty we have with Ukraine. Why are we giving them more money than we're giving people in America?
But technically, that the company Burisma doesn't exist anymore, and their head office got struck by a cruise missile back in March 2022.
Yeah, so there's no documents.
Yeah, what a coincidence! Got struck by a cruise missile. Of all the buildings in Ukraine to get hit,
hot dog.
Joe Biden said, "Bingo!"
and it seems more and more and more. I wake up every day and I think this has got to be a simulation.
Yeah,
it almost has to be, because I don't know how people could be thinking that this is normal, that this is the way things should be.
You have the deputy DA of LA coming out and telling a crime victim that her getting raped in her car is part of a big city experience.
That is ridiculous.
When the same office is trying to prosecute somebody on what may not even be a misdemeanor as a felony so that they won't run in 2024.
Cannot get justice because of the race of her attacker.
And how many other crimes are they overlooking because they don't want to arrest too many of a certain pigmentation of people?
That's what I'm saying about it in California.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Yeah, they're capping crime, and after that cap, they're telling a rape victim that they won't prosecute a case because of the crime cap.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you a story. In Texas, somebody very close to my family was estranged from his daughter when he and his wife got divorced when she was about 8. And her mother had some psychological issues she was being medicated for and stuff. Well, this daughter, when she turned 18, went to a psychiatrist. And all of a sudden, they come and arrest her father, somebody in close family relation, because she said she dreamed, under hypnosis, she said she dreamed that he did a bunch of molestation stuff, right? Bad stuff. And this happened they arrested him in 2019. Because of the pandemic, he was under house arrest for 3 years without trial. In February, it was about the 1st or 2nd of February. It was a Thursday. They called him in. They were going to choose the jury on Monday, but the prosecution called him in, and he went in, and they offered him 50 years if he pled guilty. And he said, "No, this is ridiculous. Some of the things you're accusing me of are not even physically possible." And so he walked out. The next day, they called him back in and asked him. So the first time was on a Wednesday, the second time was on a Thursday, and offered him 40 years. And he turned to his lawyer and said, "If you call me back in for this, you might as well just throw me in prison now, because I'm never going to admit I did something like this when I didn't." On Friday, the Friday before they were going to choose the jury, they called him back in and told him to wear a suit. And they went before the judge and dismissed the case because his daughter would not recant that it was just a dream. So after $750,000, 3 years of his freedom stolen, they just say, "We were mistaken, sorry, goodbye." But they knew that when they tried to get him to plead for 50 and 40 years.
Because it's all about the lawyers. I've been there with
the state gives the county prosecutors $10,000 cash personally as a bonus for every sexual crime they successfully prosecute. So they are incentivized to take people down.
Yeah. Sounds like the Southern District in New York. That came out recently too, that they're could get up to $200,000 in bonuses. I wonder how much Alvin Bragg was sitting on prosecuting Trump.
And the way the laws are written make it impossible to sue them to recover the costs.
Yeah, state immunity. I heard about that. State immunity.
You have to get permission from the state to sue the state in Texas.
Yeah. And they under state immunity, even if you sue the prosecutor successfully, it's the state that burdens the cost, not the prosecutor.
Mm.
So they walk away free. It's like funny in it that the state they complain about police abuse of power and police immunity, yet prosecutors, judges, they all have the same immunity.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just the way the things are. It's the same disease that is infecting our pop culture. And that's why every conversation ends up going back into politics, right?
Right.
Is because it's the same mind virus that's affecting our pop culture.
Well, politics is downstream from culture. You affect the culture, you affect the politics. You corrupt the minds of youth to be selfish and like little overfed rats, as in, you overfeed them, you pamper them, you tell them what good little boys and girls they are for following this ideology, and because they don't know any better, their minds are trained and they become loyal lapdogs of the ideology, and suddenly culture, politics, religion all becomes the message. Yeah. And those who are pushing the message don't live that lifestyle. They do, behind the scenes, they are not single, they are not childless, they are, some of them I forget who recently came out and says, "Oh no, I've got 3 children." And they've been married for 20 years. These people are pushing this ideology. They don't believe in it. They it's all about manipulation.
They're grifters and cowards.
Yeah, the grifters and cowards. Yeah, that's the top or the middle. The cowards are in the middle. The grifters at the top. Yes.
Yeah.
But
so
Hollywood, the actress, she had a mental breakdown. She was naked running in the street because she was running away from her attacker. Yeah, she was running away from her attacker, and they're covering up for her attacker. Obviously, her.
I didn't know she was attacked.
Well, they're saying she's making it all up, but
she was running around naked in a place where they allow drag queens to dance in front of children.
She was high as a kite. She was drugged at a party. So.
Well, Amanda Bynes went crazy a long time ago.
Yeah.
Which is sad because she was an amazing talent.
But the thing is, she got invited to a party, and next thing you know, she's high as a kite, running around the street naked. And the people.
I'd be lying if I never did that myself, so I can't really throw stones.
But attacking people as mentally ill and abusing the mentally ill is a common problem in society, because they can always say she's mentally ill.
I mean, we can simplify this, okay? What we need is another system for the mentally ill. Perhaps not a system like the asylum system we used to have, but we need a system in place for the mentally ill. Just like the border, we need to close the border, but we also need to make it easier for legal immigrants to make their way into our country. Yeah. It is ridiculous for them to have to hire a $3,000 a month retainer lawyer and wait 15 years to see a judge and get their citizenship. But they should have a streamlined process for people to immigrate legally and close the border to those who are trying to break the rules. That would allow people to come here and experience this project, this experiment, and benefit from it right alongside everybody else.
Here's the problem. Lawyers will say you're anti-capitalist, yet the anti-capitalists are the ones who are capitalizing on immigration and medicine and all these other things. It was, wasn't it the daughter of a Democrat senator who drove up the price of insulin after taking over the company?
Yeah.
And again, they said, "Oh, but Trump, yes, but how does the president of the United States does not control the prices of anything?" It's the same with fuel. They keep saying, "Oh, Trump and his fuel."
Trump is no different than my Uncle Bill, who would sit around drinking beer, saying crazy shit because he's fed up with the way they're running things. That's what Trump is.
Yeah,
Trump is the physical manifestation of
everybody's anger.
A lot of rednecks and deplorables who have had enough.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had enough of being blamed for everything going wrong when the price of fuel is not the fuel companies, it's the state. They set the taxes and they set the regulatory index for the day. This came out in California. Gavin Newsom admitted he set the price of fuel too high in an interview, and then they cut it.
Yeah. Well, we only got a few more minutes left before I've got to get out of here.
Sorry, I tend to talk too much.
No, you're fine.
You're good.
Do you guys want to talk spoilers?
Yeah.
On John Wick.
Go ahead.
Oh, David.
If you guys don't, if anybody doesn't want to, you guys can bail out. I don't want to ruin the movie. It's a good
We're at
movie.
We're at the spoiler section of John Wick 4. If you haven't seen it, this is your chance to leave now.
Yeah, right here. Underneath everybody, I put spoiler warning.
There you go.
So, what did you think, anime, at the end of the movie? We're just gonna dive deep right down into it.
I feel like it could go two ways. It went two ways. I interpreted it in both ways. Looking back at the ending, I'm like, okay, they can take it like where he allegedly faked his death and is doing something else, or they leave it as is and focus on the other characters like Lawrence Fishburne's character, Akira, Kane, because we haven't seen Kane's daughter yet.
Actually, yes, we did.
It was the photo. My bad. It was
No, it was the end credit scene.
Oh shit!
There is an end credit scene, not a mid credit, but an end credit. So a 3-hour long movie. If you guys have to pee, as soon as the credits roll, run out and pee, but come back. There is an end credit scene.
Okay, that part I missed.
Yeah.
Y'all remember when we saw the first end credit scene?
Dude, yes. I remember exactly. I was at the beach, and it was the first Michael Bay Transformers.
Wait, that had an end credit scene?
Yeah. It was
then you
Megatron's
obviously
eyes
didn't
cutting
see
on.
Cannonball Run.
No. Well, I did, but it wasn't until later.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if you'd call bloopers a scene, but there was in credit stuff and in credit stuff.
Yeah, they used to do bloopers a lot more.
Jackie Chan did it too.
Yeah.
In credits. And they weren't.
Yeah, he had some spectacular bloopers though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But originally called in credits. Yeah.
So yeah, there was an end credit scene. You get to see it's Kane's niece. She was coming after Kane. And there is a rumor that they're going to be a spin-off movie of their interactions. But I don't know if that can carry a whole movie.
Well, you know what? I don't care. A spinoff is better than another reboot or prequel or something like that, you know.
Right. Well, yeah. There's also rumors to be a show on the Continental itself. I don't know how that's going to happen now since Lance Reddick is no longer involved.
Yeah, that would be kind of tough to do because he kind of made that section of it, right?
Well, yeah, and I felt that it was in very bad taste, but in the beginning of the movie, he is shot and killed.
Oh.
Yeah, his character. There is some kind of situation where
did that happen before he died?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was. they
I mean, they
filmed.
filmed that and had that plan before he died.
Yeah, they filmed the whole thing. I
So
mean,
they
there
had
was
no idea, but they killed
Yeah.
him off.
Yeah, so they killed him off through that, and he, died in real life. But yeah, there was they were desecrating the Continental. They were removing the Ian McShane as the manager. They were
Oh
moving
no!
him out, and they took his hotel from him, and then they blew it up. Well, in the midst of a conversation, you know, they both went in together, and Skarsgård. Was it Bill Skarsgård?
The older one.
He plays it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. He's in this movie. He's the Grand Marquis, which is the middleman between the high table and the I guess the lower people, the people in the organization. Well, he comes to them and he kills the concierge, Lance Reddick's character, because of John Wick's situation. Everything that John Wick touches, they've got to go through and eliminate. So they're tracking him down hard. And it is continuous killing.
Yeah, I heard it's like almost nonstop action.
Dude, I got
3
so
hours
tired.
of almost nonstop action.
I got so tired for John Wick. I was just like, dude, come on. This is so much. And there's never a good time to go to the bathroom.
Oh, wow.
Just FYI. 3 hours long, no pee breaks.
Can you imagine a guy like that? He gets both the Matrix and John Wick.
Yeah, but see, the original Matrix trilogy, I kind of liked. The fourth one sucked.
Well, and they made fun of it in the beginning, telling you they knew it was going to suck. Did you not hear them?
I don't think so.
The whole first scene where whole first section where he's a computer guy, and he's creating a game, and he goes in there and has a conversation
about
remakes.
Yes.
Yeah, you just want to do a remake, screw everything up, kill off everything, and make it a joke. And that was them telling us they knew what was happening, but they were under contract.
I don't think I picked up on that at the time, but now I get it.
Yeah, go back and watch that first scene, and you'll understand.
Yeah,
they knew it was trash. They knew what they were getting done, what was being done to them.
But I mean, I don't know. Donnie, I didn't recognize Donnie Yen in this movie either.
It was I recognized Donnie Yen. I recognized the mannerisms, the movements. He was literally in Rogue One, and that's how because I watched Rogue One, and seeing him again, I was actually happy to see him in something with more meaning, and he killed it. I would love to see him as a Jedi. Like a blind Jedi that just kicks so much ass. He can do it. But then again, it's Disney, and
I'll make a point.
That happening.
Hang on, I'll make a point. I think Donnie Yen is a very talented actor.
Mm-hmm.
But he would be the reason I would consider not spending my money on this movie. He is a member of the Communist Party of China. He's an avowed member of the Communist Party of China.
I didn't know that.
Yes, and he promotes them. So he is a talented actor, and I do like a lot of the things he's been in, but he is a member of the CCP.
Huh. There's another character in it that I didn't recognize right off the bat. He's wearing a fat suit in Belarus, I think, in the movie.
That was him?
That was this
I
guy.
thought the face looked familiar.
Scott Adkins was wearing a fat suit.
Oh, I have to see that.
With like ridiculous gold teeth. Like it's so ridiculous.
Huh.
Let me see if I can find a picture of him in the suit. It was
so
hysterical.
For being in that fat suit, I gotta give him credit for pulling off the acrobatics.
Dude,
Oh yeah.
that dude had perfect form on a spin kick.
Yeah,
I was like, I could
excuse
not
me.
believe a fat guy was moving like that. And then it comes out, and I was like, oh wait, okay, all right, he's in a fat suit. That's cool. There's really no.
While Seth's looking that up, I'm gonna go. I gotta let the dogs out again.
All right,
All right,
man.
Shoot some bears or
care.
coyotes or something. All right.
See you
See
later.
ya.
Channel A Brian Leap, everybody.
Check out his channel.
Yeah, he's links in the description. Well, no, it's a small picture. I don't want that. Daggone it. Where is this? Oh, right here. Okay. This is just him from a bust shot, but he's wearing a fat suit, and I mean it's just totally.
Wow.
That's so funny. But his gold teeth were ridiculous.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
He
cool.
was funny.
I like the casino setting too, like of playing and like all the different cards that they were playing. I thought that was pretty cool. And John Wick getting the dead man's hand and still coming out on top.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's them. There's another character in it that kind of got my attention. He was the tracker, Mr. Nobody.
Dude, he was
cool.
There were moments where he was like ready to just open fire, like he would just fire at John Wick with no hesitation. We seen that, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, he could kill him any second.
Yeah. Man,
Yeah,
it's like they know how to actually use an antagonist or a situation to gain that emotional adrenaline high from an audience member, like storytellers used to be able to do, the 80s and 90s.
Shamir Anderson, he was the tracker. He was.
Oh, he's a pretty good
interesting.
actor.
Yeah,
He's a pretty good character actor.
He was good.
He was very interesting. He was very concerned about money, and he was going to help John Wick until the dollar amount got high enough, and that's when he was going to go after.
Isn't that kind of that archetype's deal, though?
Yeah.
You live by the sword, die by the sword. Mercenaries for money.
He had a really cool dog and a rifle that he carried.
So there's a dog in this one.
Yup. He was the one with the dog.
Oh,
and the
nice.
dog, he would tell the dog where to bite the person. So there was multiple times where he'd be like nuts, and the dog would come out of nowhere and just grab the dude.
So it's like a police dog, like a German Shepherd or something.
Yeah, it was really cool. Named Knox.
Yeah,
but
I had the dog named Knox. It was named after the race in Stargate SG-1, the Knox. You can tell I'm a geek.
But yeah, and he carried this really cool rifle that was I don't know what it was. I'm wondering if it was like a 45-70 because it was a lever action kind of deal.
It was either a 45-70 or a straight up Colt 45.
It could have been a it could have been.
If it was a lever action, it most likely those are what they use in movies most of the time. That's what is standard because it's iconic.
But if it was Winchester, it could be a 30-06.
It could be.
Well, the bullets.
If you look in the movies, they tend to do the 45 long Colt because it's such a big round and looks impressive.
Plus, I have a huge stockpile of them because of the cowboy movies.
Yeah,
I do think it was probably a 45 because it wasn't like a regular rifle round. I seen him load a couple rounds in, and it was kind of a 45 caliber look to it.
It didn't have like a long bullet on the top. It was a short bullet. That's a 45 long Colt.
Yeah,
and I have both. I have two 1911s. I have an AR that's a 45 ACP. and I have a 45 long Colt lever action rifle, but I use 270 to hunt with. So I have two standard Remington 270s, and I have a basically it's a sniper rifle that's 270. It's a bolt action as well. But I had a 1911 because that was my service pistol in military, and then my grandfather taught me how to shoot with his 1911 he had from World War II.
Yeah. Well, when you see him, you'll get a good his rifle breaks in two, so you can stick it in his book bag.
Yeah.
Very very interesting. I enjoyed it.
Just a tip. There's a series of novels called The Demon Accords. Now I found them through Audible, but it's urban fantasy. But in the background,
I thought it was that one.
The dude who's writing it is an expert in arms, and he talks about every caliber he wants to inject into his story. It's very interesting because you'll be going along through the story, and they'll have to use weapons for something, and it's like John Wick, where visually they're showing you the weapon and how it works through action. He's actually explaining the weapon and who normally uses it, like Benelli or something like that, and it's got werewolves and vampires and all that stuff in it. But it kind of reminds me of that sort of thing, because I'm really into weapons, maybe because I grew up in the country and we hunted and went hunting and fishing all the time, and we had to practice shooting.
Yeah.
So when I went in the military, I went in the Air Force, and I got my first time at a real range with an M16 and a 45 handgun. I got expert marksman on both in basic. So
that's cool.
But that's because I played with it.
Yeah, I don't know. They ended up having to do a final duel, and I don't know what kind of pistol that was that they used, but it was like it reminded me of like an old school. It reminded me of a breakdown shotgun, a single shot like 12 gauge, but it was very very short.
Yeah,
and it looked more like a
It was like the Thompson. It was the Thompson Center Arms Encore.
Oh, you saw, you knew that.
It looked I knew it looked familiar because an old friend of mine had that one.
What was it called? Encore?
And you know what? I guarantee you the price of those just went up dramatically because every gun that has been featured in that movie series has shot up in value.
Yeah, I see it. It was the same weapon, but it looked so different.
It could have been a custom. It could have been custom. Same with the Marlin model 1894.
Could you imagine how terrible the movie would have been if they had Alec Baldwin in it?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ!
All right, here we go. Here's I got
insurance.
I got a still shot from the movie. That's when they open the box up to.
Yeah, that's custom. That's custom.
That thing looked so bad.
Yeah.
Them gun, dude, they were shooting each other like from 30 paces and just like boom.
And then have to manually reload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Break it. It was a breakdown. So they break down, eject the shell and put the other one in, pull it up and cock it.
Hey, Oiler Greg.
Wow.
Hey, what's up, Oiler Greg? What's up, buddy?
Hello.
Yeah, we're talking
the Japanese
John Wick spoiler.
The Japanese hotel scenes, they were phenomenal. I'm like,
oh my gosh,
I wanted to go there. I was like ready. Yeah, the nunchucks. Oh, they were devastating.
All right, so there's a scene where John Wick's got nunchucks. I mean, he's like out of ammunition. He got the nunchucks. He's like he's fighting somebody and he does like a nut tap with him. Well, he jukes the dude out, and like he gets the dude like to kind of cover himself, and he really gets him. He gets his guard down on his face. Well, when he jukes him out, he pulls a gun up and just shoots him in the face.
I listened to it.
And the amount of throwing guns at people is hysterical.
Oh, so I listened to a little bit of FNT about this, and the one thing nobody has mentioned that probably should be mentioned is that the real star of this movie seems to be the fight choreography.
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was
so whoever did that, whatever person or team did that, need to have major kudos signed upon them, from what I understand.
I forget the name of the school, but Keanu Reeves for the first movie went there. They do special fight choreography, and actually Johnny Yen was one of the instructors.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, historically, Chinese movies, even in Bruce Lee's time, were beautifully choreographed.
Yeah,
that's why people went to them.
Yeah, I think it's actually I don't think it's owned by Jackie Chan, but the martial arts school that taught him.
Yeah.
I think Jackie Chan isn't an instructor there, though. I think it was Johnny Yen at the time who was doing the fight choreography training. That's how he got into the West, was fight choreography training. Though his first movie, so known to the West, was The Raid. But yeah,
well, I was a big fan of Jet Li too. So
yeah, Jet Li, oddly backed out, but he's also a big CCP guy.
Yeah, I know.
But he oddly backed out of a lot of Western projects that he later regretted doing.
Yeah, that one went up too.
This is the TTI Pit Viper.
$7,000.
Gosh, dude, that gun looks awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it feels good when you shoot it too. It's got a 1911 style, but I bet it's a striker fire.
It does have a hammer. I love the touch of the gold.
Mm-hmm.
The gold coins.
Oh yeah.
I like that bronze barrel.
Yeah, that looks cool. Dude, that thing's awesome. Oh man.
I'm always been a big fan of chrome and black too.
5-inch large single port compensated with DLC coated match grade barrel, precision cut, traditional full wrap stipple, not silicone carbide, black DLC coating on frame, high polished side. 1.75 to 2.25 trigger pull.
That is light.
Yeah,
that is like a hair trigger.
Oh my gosh!
That's one of those guns that if you have Parkinson's, you should not own it. Yeah, so I can tell you what makes it not a 1911 is it doesn't seem to have a beaver tail.
Yeah, it's lacking that.
So it doesn't have that extra safety. It might have one.
Or was just we could view it from like the
It is 1911. Yeah, it does have a beaver tail.
Oh,
yeah, it is. My 1911 is built exactly that way. It's a lot cheaper made though.
Yeah, $7,000 for this. Hey,
I think mine cost me $500.
I'm guessing that's because John Wick just came.
Part of it, but you know, some higher end ones will go $3,000-$4,000. Your Willis and Wilson Combat.
They also use Dragon Breath rounds in the that was
you have to have a special license for those.
I was wondering about that. My wife was like, "That's a real thing," and I was like,
"Yeah, they're
real. They're real.
Incendiary, so you have to have a bomb license, I believe, for them." And you know, I am a true Second Amendment child because I didn't know there was even a need for it when I was growing up. I mean, we did live in fear of the game warden, but that was about it. The thing is that there are some things that people should just not have. You know what I mean?
According to Phoenix Rising store, I could get 12 gauge Dragon's Breath for
you can get some what they call Dragon's Breath, but they're not Dragon's Breath. They're flash rounds that are less incendiary.
Phoenix Rising Dragon's Breath has an incredible range of 200 plus yards and a burn rate of over 5,000 degrees. This is the highest quality and most effective round of its type.
Does it say you have to have a ATF stamp to get it?
Yeah,
availability is back ordered. Shipping time approximately 1 week delayed. Color of shell event. Warning: extreme fire hazard. Do not shoot in any dry grass, foliage, trees. This ammo is restricted to the following cities or states: Alaska, California, Florida, Hawaii, Maryland, in New York, Washington D.C. APO or FPO address. No PO boxes.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I can have it. I may order some.
Hang on, here's a link.
Yeah.
Private jet.
I've got 2 tactical shotguns, a Benelli and a Savage Arms.
I bet that Benelli's nice.
Yeah, we got it. So my father, actually, I was part of a big tech layoff. A bunch of MSP companies got bought out, and I can't get another tech job right now. So I went to work for my father's company, and his overhead is very high and spends a lot of money with one company, and they give them points that they can spend on stuff they have in a catalog at the end of the year to incentivize. Yeah, and so he ordered a Savage Arms shotgun for my birthday. They ran out, so they sent him a Benelli.
Dang.
So I got a Benelli.
That one.
Dude, you got lucky on that one.
Yeah. So like a $500 shotgun got turned into a $5,000 shotgun.
Yeah.
So it was an over and under pump action.
Oh my gosh, dude, that's bad. That's awesome. I've got this in a Turkish model, a car, a 612. I really enjoy it. Like it was a cheap pickup. I picked it up for like $200.
Yeah.
I've been watching reviews on these, and it seems to be a very solid gun. So me and my dad both went down and bought one just because, like, you know, I wanted a good gun for home security. Yeah. And this seemed to be a really fun.
That's what I use the Benelli for. It's in a case in my bedroom where my other long guns are in my office here in another safe, and my handgun is with me usually. But yeah. I come from the school that I only want 2 or 3 different rounds. So my wife's gun is a 45. My gun is a 45. My son's gun is a 45. His is a revolver because he likes that better than a modern gun. And then our hunting rifles are all 270s. I have the 45 ACP ARs. I've got 2 of them, and then a couple of 12 gauges, the Benelli included, and then a couple more 12 gauges that are standard Remington 12 gauges pump shotguns to, bird and rabbit hunt with. So I have 3 rounds. So that's all I buy. So I have a lot of rounds. So when the world ends, I have a lot of wealth. Because
go ahead.
Because I don't think much is going to be worth anything if the world ends, except for ammunition to get what you need.
Yep.
Oh,
protect yourself from those trying to come at you. I don't think gold will do you any good. I don't think any of that stuff will do you any good. But if you have ammunition and a fireable weapon, you'll be okay.
Yep. Or or tools, skills, and food.
Yeah. Yeah, and
That'll
you
be
know,
key.
we live out in the country on a lake, so I have access to fresh water. I have big enough property for a garden. I know how to can because I grew up doing it. I know how to smoke. I can build a smokehouse. I've slaughtered. I lived on a farm, so I've slaughtered pigs in the front yard hanging from a tree. There's lots of pigs around to hunt. In fact, they have a bounty on them. You know, It's like that song. It's cheesy, but a country boy can survive. We were
Yeah.
taught how to. It was a matter of life.
This is that ammunition.
5,000 degrees. Look at that.
Good gosh.
You know, they freak out about ARs because they don't like the aggressive look of them.
No, it's just the.
But if somebody walked in with a normal shotgun, hypothetically, and did a mass shooting with those,
Whew.
how many people would lose their minds?
I want some. I want some so bad.
I don't know where I could shoot that. It would set the whole neighborhood on
Me
fire.
too.
Actually, I know a place down here where I live.
I guess I could go to the lake and shoot across the water. Look at that.
I know a few back areas where I can shoot this. I know a few
Would there
back
be a
areas.
body left if they were right in front of you?
Nope.
I mean, if you were protecting your door from an assailant and shot him with that, how much of him would even be left?
How much of your house in the door frame would be left?
No joke. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with people having access to that.
Right? Well, we got a link. We can get it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I did fire a 12 and a 24 8 years ago. I feel like the 24 had a bigger kick to that. A close personal friend of mine who also lives here. Oh, gee, wow, look how far that was. Jesus.
Holy crap. Holy crap. David's sitting over here stewing because he can't have nothing like that. He's in Australia.
No. Yeah,
Sorry,
they
David.
kind of swindled you guys out of it, didn't you? Are y'all allowed to have any guns, David?
There are provisions where you could do a 10-point test, but I would fail. So
No.
Oh, that's cool.
Holy crap. Holy crap.
So, I mean, I'm sure there's special things for people who live out in the countryside, right? Because they should be able to have long guns.
There are provisions like gun club membership and that, but under the law, even minor convictions, like I got a fine. So no, even minor convictions can exclude you.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
They got quantity pricing.
I believe if you've gone to prison and you've served your time, or you've paid your debt,
there's over $1,000 in fines.
So in Texas, we have what are called state jail felonies.
Yeah,
and if you get one, they do take your ability to have a firearm away, but they give it back to you in an amount of time for state felonies.
We don't have that.
Federal, they take them away.
We don't have that. Once you lose gun rights, you lose them.
Wow.
A close personal friend of mine who also lives out here, he has a MP5 with an adjustable stock and hollow point rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at him. I'm like, "Are you sure you want that?" He's like, "You never know." He's looking into getting acidic rounds.
That's
like
crazy.
acid tip rounds. I don't know
That's
how. I don't want to know how. I'm like, it's your gun.
Hey, Tommy, you there?
You do what
Yeah, I'm
you do
here.
what you want.
All right, dude. So check it out. How crazy is the difference between Rumble and YouTube? Our YouTube views are 11. Live viewers is 3. You want to know
Oh,
how many views we've had on Rumble?
How many?
132.
Oh wow.
Wow,
Wow.
that's great. Rumble, I would rather be on Rumble because, like, it's taken me what 3.5 years. I've gotten to 548 subscribers now. But every time I get 3 subscribers, they take 2 back.
Yep.
It's taken me 4 years to get to 172.
Yeah,
I'm at
it's
212 right
crazy.
now.
And
I'm
they'll
I'm
unsubscribe my wife. They'll unsubscribe my son.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I know they watch my stuff. So this is my daily carry. And I drive an hour and a half to work and then an hour and a half home.
Well, that's cool.
And it's just a standard 45. It does not have the clip in it.
I'm down
So-
YouTube.
So it and then I think this one retails for about $450 right now. I paid $512 for it. So they're really accessible right now, and that's a standard 45. Because it's a 1911, it's all steel, so it does not kick very much. But you do have to wear good ear protection because it is louder than a say a Sig 40. It is super loud.
I've got me and my wife have G2s, Taurus PT 111s.
Yeah.
I love it. I picked it up for $220 each, and just it's been an all around like really good just concealed carry gun.
Well, this is the 4 4.25 barrel standard size, and then the normal size is 5 inches. But my wife's is a commander, so it only carries 6 rounds instead of 8. And you can see the rounds, pretty much as big as your finger. And these are target bullets in this particular one, but I use frangible in my carry. It's because I don't expect anything to happen to me while I'm out, but there's a lot of country between rural area between me and my job, and if I break down, anything can happen. So it just makes sense to protect yourself when you're in those situations. And fortunately, in Texas and rural areas, police officers are really understanding of those who carry in Texas because they carry when they're off duty. A lot of our cops are community cops in rural areas. They're not like part of a police force as much as they are the part of the community.
Well, I've extended my time. I've got to run. Tommy, do you want to keep going or?
I'm about to fall out. I'm not gonna lie. I had to get up early this morning.
Yeah, and I've got to finish writing a story.
Where's this OnlyFans? Where's the evidence against me? Where's the evidence against me?
All right.
I'm gonna pull a Donald Trump. You got nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks Storyman Jack for joining us. All of our links are down below in the description. We have our like mine, me, Tommy, David, Brian, Channel Dad, Brian Lape. We're a part of the channel, so the description section has our links, and then down below it we have featured guests, and that's everybody else that kind of interacts with our channel. So all that's down there below. Buy David's book. We'll be live tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Everybody's welcome to join there. We just play video games and talk about any and everything. Tommy's probably got to go to work.
Yes.
Oh gosh, ew. Yeah,
I'm sorry, brother.
Gotta make a living.
Don't forget to send me the link.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for hitting that Rumble button over on Rumble. You guys
Check
take
out
care, and we'll see you
Storyman
later.
Jack's channel.
I am on Rumble as well. The
Yep.
Storyman
Oh,
Dash
yeah.
Jack.
Cool. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good day, sir.
Later, dudes.
Good night, Jimbo.
Hell, I got to go.
Peace out.